good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Basden. Joining me as co-host Maceo Dill. We are awaiting the arrival of both Punchy Dill and Nikita Robinson. Some interesting scores from this weekend. But first, let's go back. Last week, Maceo, we had some discussion. It didn't go. I wouldn't say according to plan, but it didn't go how I would have really appreciated it. But having said that, I personally want to apologize to those that were offended by some of the things that were said on this show last week, and we hope in moving forward we do better, and we do take into consideration that there are many other envelopes that go along with what does take to have a football game, a team, a club, and everything that goes in and around the youth as well as adults to operate. Maceo, anything you want to add?
What I would add, I mean, I can appreciate people's thing. From my perspective, my opinions are not personal opinions. My opinions are just what I see to improve. I do encourage people not to really be offended because my opinions are not even right. And I recognize that they're not right or wrong. They're just opinions. And I recognize the effort that this show and yourself does to sports. So I do apologize from the perspective of the show and the work that you're putting in for sports. And I do recognize the effort that volunteer people make for sports. That's something that I recognize because I'm part of that. I'm part of that effort. What I would say publicly is, again, my opinions are not right or wrong. They're opinions based on how I see it. And I would say publicly that we figure out in this country to be collaborative in our effort to grow sports. We figure out what that looks like in this, because this show and what you do, Earl, does a lot for sports to highlight it. To highlight it. It does, not just football, the other things. I mean, you're in Colombia right now highlighting our athletes, and that's ultimately what we want to do. So from my perspective and my part in it, would just be encouraged that they're not. I know I'm direct. I understand that. I understand that about myself. I'm very, very direct in opinion, but it's not meant to be offensive to anybody. It's just
Yeah. Well, let's move on to this week. And of course, yesterday at the Wellington Oval, St. George's Coast defeated Robin Hood 2-1. A tight game as both teams are still trying to feel their way. When I say tight game, I'm not there, so I didn't see any part of the game. I look at the score and try to figure out what that was like. But St. George's did lead 2-0 till 2 minutes to go, and Robin Hood got a goal. But the makeup of what Robin Hood's faced with now, they had a mass exodus. A lot of people had them down, including myself, as relegated early. But they're surprised a few teams. What's your thoughts?
Robin Hood, well, I mean, St. George's beat them, right? And St. George's comfortably controlled that game. Robin Hood, it's still an iffy transition from because they're dealing with young players, and they're not dealing with a big squad. It's not an ideal situation for them. And I'm now favoring St. George's, and I would lend my weight to St. George's actually building. So I've talked about not building, but I think St. George's is actually building. They're on a building pathway. So how quickly they get on that, how quickly they move forward on that building pathway, still remains to be seen. But the expectation was that they beat Robin Hood, and they done that. So they're meeting that expectation. Okay, you're supposed to beat this game. Okay, you beat this game. Now you can move to the next phase of your building. Yeah.
Right. As we talked at the beginning of the season. Good evening, Punchy. How are you?
I'm sorry, like my apologies,
Not
gentlemen.
a
My
problem. Not a
apologies.
problem.
Yeah,
We're just talking about the first game with St. George's and Robin Hood. As we talked about it prior to the season starting, St. George's is going to have to beat the teams that they figure will be the relegated teams. You have to win those games. Yeah, even if you win them 1-0, you have to win those games, and then you try to sort yourself out in the middle of the table. And I think with them they've beaten Rangers, they've beaten Robin Hood. The only team left, what they would consider one of the teams that will be in that relegation battle, would be Somerset Eagles, and they've yet to play them. So, Punchy, hearing the St. George's Robin Hood score, St. George's winning 2-1. I know you're not surprised because you're always in talks with those guys from St. George's, and you see or get a chance to hear what they're trying to do.
yeah, yeah. I always thought that I think they've adopted the right what they're trying to achieve there. Like with Freddie Hall, because I work with Freddie Hall and always work with Dave Signal, and we just chat about things that we've done. I think I got to give praise also to my nephews helping out. I think what they're trying to achieve there now is long term, and you see the results. It wasn't like I thought when they lost to Norfolk at 3-1 I thought they were still in the game. So there is a time, and it's just like what you were saying. There will come a time, and okay, will they beat Southampton the Rangers? I think they should. I thought they should have beat Robin Hood. Yes, they should. They did. That result against Dennytown was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 2-1. Yeah. So they're in a rebuilding. They're in a rebuilding phase. My nephews are patches. I wish them the best. I think they're finally going to decide like what they want to achieve at the football level, and you can see the results are speaking for themselves. I do believe that I in my last weeks talking about who should win, I think that I put them down to beat Robin Hood.
Yeah, we all did. We all picked St. George's.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So kudos to them. But I think it has a lot to do with what they're trying to achieve. They've made a decision. They brought in other people, and they just changed the concept of the football there. And I think they're heading in the right direction.
Definitely. And then in today's matches out at BAA Field, Dandytown beat Somerset Eagles 4-2. We talked about Dandytown and now with a new focus on the season being driven by many other things that has happened off the field as well. Do you see that engine kind of slowing down anytime soon, Macy?
It's interesting you say that because at every point of the season, in every club in the world, they're going to test your management. You're going to test your management of the chaotic piece. How do you manage when the players get chaotic? So it's two things that happen with players. When they're winning, they're like, well, I'm winning, and they get a little bit, full of themselves. They get a little bit full of themselves. Or if they're losing, they get a little bit hard on themselves and become discouraged. Anytime is in the favor where the players and everybody's got a bit full of themselves now. So they're in that phase. And today I felt that with the quality that Dandytown had and the lack of quality that Somerset Eagles had, that Dandytown should have handsomely smacked them 6-0. But they made the game harder than it had to be. They made the game harder than they had to be. So they're coming into that phase. The staff and everybody at Dandytown is going to come into that phase is how do you manage this chaotic period? And over the Christmas period, and I see people are starting to get injured. We know that the coach is going to go away for a bit with the national team, the girls' national team. That is crucial. That piece right there is going to be crucial, how they manage through that.
Definitely. Punch, your thoughts on Dandytown winning 4-2?
I just think that Bavarian coming in, he's managing results. Because I thought that they shouldn't have beat the first game they saw him play was our BA, and the Cougars had the chances. They just did not finish in the 18-yard box. They didn't put the chances away. I thought they really in control of their game for long periods of time. That's damaged the Cougars. But all of a sudden, Denny Tom manages to go. And so I think what Denny Tom is going to be with Aaron there, he's just going to add that extra, organization. Let's get through this period. Let's do this. And I still put them. I rank them pretty, like in terms of what they're going to achieve this year. I think with what happened and God, considering what one of the lost one of the players, and so I think they're going to be okay. They will, even if you're not playing that well and you do stuff like that, they're still winning because they beat Suns and Eagles, right? And 2 goals, 4-2. So let's get the results. How the result is achieved, I think when you change the concept, the coach is coming in, Aaron coming in. So he's just adding I think he's just adding a little bit more stability to the result that what they're trying to do there.
Yeah, to your point, Maceo, I think what we also have to keep in our minds is that people react different to different situations, especially in the amateur sport. How they dealing with adversity leading up to a game, like the nights before, the morning of, the actual game. So we have to keep that in mind that, remember, in a team sport, the coaching staff has got to manage that piece, and that piece is very difficult at times because you've got so many different components. And I think that's where, we would have thought that Dendy Town would have walked over Somerset Eagles, but with so many things going on in and around the environment of the club, that we have to also be cognizant of that and how these individuals are dealing with that.
Well, that's actually, it's good that you say that, but I don't see it, just from my point, I don't see a difference in amateur or professional. I'll give you an example. Take Balotelli, as a professional player, because he gets played, he was burning down his house. Like, he was putting his house on fire, and you got to manage that piece. That's all part of, and that's the same in the amateur league. You gotta manage that piece, and the person that manages that piece, that chemistry piece, and that psychologically piece, when you learn to manage that piece, that's where you sort of get the result, and that's normal. I mean, just take Maradona, the crazy hyper that was around him. Now, Aaron Dankins, I think he has the ability. His key to Danny Todd is going to be his stabilization piece that he comes with. That stabilization piece, when it's a bit chaotic, is going to be something that he's going to bring to the table. But it's also going to be something that they lose come January. And when come January, points are going to be at a premier. So that's why I'm still favoring a PHC.
But when you have someone such as Deval Boyles as the president who can step in for a period of time and keep that stability, I don't think they'll go too far off the books because he knows all these players. He's been around all these players. So I think the calmness he brings is similar to what Aaron brings as well. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Devonshire Cougars 2, Somerset Trojans 0. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's leading distributor of fine beverages, have brought us something fresh and exciting this month. Mystic Juices, skillfully blended for captivating flavor and loaded with nutritional value. Mystic Juices not only taste remarkably good, one serving will supply an abundance of vitamins A and C, more than a certified measure needed to meet your daily requirements. This month we're featuring delicious and nutritious Mystic Juices in an enticing range of flavors in 64 and 16-ounce bottles. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Welcome back. Well, seeing and hearing that result out at the Devonshire Recreation Club, I know all of us would have been stunned only because we all picked Somerset Trojans. It would appear that that Kwame Steed has rejoined Devonshire Cougars and added some stability. While, I think the other plus is now that they have a stable, when I say stable, I mean a recognized goalkeeper in Taj Bell if he played today. But having to solidify a base of a team, and if you have a goalkeeper of his ability, I think that actually adds to everything else going forward. So, Punchy, I know you would have been stunned with that result.
Yeah, I had to work today. I work hard. I haven't seen about 25 minutes of the second half.
Mm-hmm.
After the second goal was scored by Cougars, I thought that they should have managed the game much better. They were leading 2-0. It was still open at times. They gave the ball away a lot in crucial, critical areas. I thought Kwame, I could see the coach was like, he was on the side. I know he was mad because if you're leading 2-0, and I think it's just about keep possession, making the right, correct decisions, and just run the clock down. But with Somerset now, there is I still see Jomar's structure, what he's trying to achieve, but I thought at times they lack quality. They lack quality in the crucial parts or balls that when they got the ball beyond on the wide areas, the passes that came in from the wide areas were not good. And I still think Somerset looked like they're missing a center forward. They're looking like a striker, which is also something that they always had. Somebody a focal point in the attack. Whereas, okay, we get beyond you on the wide areas and ball comes in. And so they were still in the game, even though they were 2-0 down. Again, I still see, again, getting back to Jomar's structure, what Jomar's trying to achieve. But it's going to take some time. Devonshire Cougars at home are going to be very difficult to beat at times. They're going to be very difficult. They're not going to be easy to go to Devonshire Cougars. And even though what was surprising last week when Robin Hood went out there. So maybe teams should think, okay, we're going to have to play against Devonshire Cougars on a Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Maybe we should do what Robin Hood do. Let's copy their concept. Drop behind the ball. Let's see what they really got. Let's see what they have. Let's see if they can get beyond us. Let's expose their weaknesses. Maybe sit back, wait for the counterattack, and get them on the counterattack. And I think that's what I think. If you're going to Devonshire Rec on a Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, you got to be prepared for the way they play. The thrustful, and with Kwame there now, you can see him on the sideline, and Adam, and he's just like he's pushing the players. So yeah, I think that you're gonna have to be very, very focused, organized if you go to play against Devonshire Cougars. And I still say that the second or third on my list in terms of what they're gonna achieve this year with Kwame there, that you got to be ready, you got to be prepared, and you got to have a concept of when you go to Devonshire Rec to play against Cougars on a Sunday afternoon. Because they are good when they're home. Even though I thought at times about managing the game today, but yeah, they're gonna be a handful for a lot of people out there.
Sure. Nice.
Yeah. Again, I lost faith in Somerset to be title contenders. They're gonna nestle in the middle of the pack somewhere for sure. I mean, my study of this game of football is a cultural study, and I give you what I mean. Somerset, as a cultural football environment, dealt with athletes. They dealt like a bunch said. They had a good center half, a good goalkeeper, a good striker, good wingers, and athletic players. Dandytown as a culture had very, very creative players, very creative raw players. And I spoke of Jamar taking a Dandytown concept to Somerset, and is almost trying to put a square in a hole. So what people do culturally, football as they evolve, that you evolve cultures. You don't change it. You evolve it. You add something to the culture that's more beneficial with the times. Example, what I mean by it. If we watch German football, they never lost their organization. They just added creative players to that organization now. Or if we watch Brazil, they tried to change their culture by adding organization, and it interrupted their creative players by trying to. You saw they lost 7-0 in Brazil. You know, so you don't change cultures. You evolve cultures. You add something to it. And what Jamal's attempting to do is change the culture in Somerset, and they're not going to allow that. Somerset as a culture is not going to allow that. So he's going to struggle with that to be able to beat. And the culture of Somerset, when we talk about the culture of Somerset, is never going to stop talking about their ability of civil city. That's the culture. That's their standard. They're never gonna. We're never gonna get away from it. But they're gonna nestle somewhere in the middle of the pack. They're gonna nestle somewhere in the pack. But today's laws shows that they're not gonna be a title contender, even with a big figure of Jamal being there. It's just like Mourinho going to United. He just wasn't culturally suited.
Mm, mm. One of the things when you look around Somerset, the coaching staff, they're embedded in Somerset, and I think with a few words of wisdom, I think they can get it. I think Jamal can get it right. I think it's going to take time, whether or not he's given the time, because that's always the key. If he's given the time to do what he plans to do within the Somerset makeup and get that buy-in, because obviously one of the things you've always talked about is the Somerset people, but it's also the player. The players have to buy into it. If the players buy into a method and a system and a way to play just a little different than the way they've been playing all this time, then eventually they start winning over with results. And then right now they're struggling with results. And I think in time, when those results do start to come, I think that the whole concept will change and the attitude will change with settling down, because obviously if there's people in Somerset talking about getting rid of the coach, and we're 4 weeks into the season, I mean, you start hearing that, and then what happens is the players who are not playing or who can't make the team start to echo that in the changing room and in the training facility, and then it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just hope that teams manage that type of atmosphere, because you can't let it manifest its way in, because you'll be fighting a losing battle within the club against the opponents that you're trying to beat too. So you have to manage those type of things and get on top of it early.
You bring up an interesting point, and I like to just give an education. I mean, if you look at Arsenal at this time, new coach, everybody's not sure, but he won't get young players. So he got rid of big figures like Ozil, whether we like it or not, he did. And you could get those young players, and you can accept that those young players are going to get slapped around a little bit. They're going to gain experience. And if you stick with me, I'm going to bring these young players out on the other side. If you stick with me, that's the way of doing that. But when you go get established players and bring them in, you got to win now. You got to be. Cristiano Ronaldo came to United. You got to win now. We're not going to be as patient. Because you got to win. So he's in a situation where he's got to win. He's not in a situation where he's got time.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And
I like to add to something. When we talk about culture football, and makes us talk about culture football, you got a lot of the coaches. You look at Joma, you look at Kenny, you look at what we're trying to do as a country, the philosophy of football. I think it's going to take some time here in terms of deciding what type of football we're going to play. When you go down to Iraq on a Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, you got to have your ducks in order. You got to know what you're going to do to frustrate Devonshire Cougars. So, I think that with the quality of coaching now, the concept, the education of the coaches that are here in this country, now we got to have a concept. And the concept, when you have a concept, then it's also got to be conducive to the players that you have. Mm-hmm. And I thought this is very important for us to understand. Now the country comes with a concept. Now we want quality players. I think that's still a question that's got to be addressed. The quality of players that you are coaching. And so I think we're still on the right track with the coaching, what we're trying to achieve in this country. But what I saw today in terms of what Kwame, like Jomar, you got Jomar and Kwame, they set their teams up good. They know what they want to do, but then it's still about the quality of the person that they're dealing with. And I thought, Devonshire Cougars, getting back to what we're talking about, I know what Kwame wanted to do, manage the game, and he's doing enough. But then there was a lot of mistakes made by the players that he was coaching. So what I'm saying to you is this. This is my point that I'm making here. That just with the show, the country's changing. We're trying to grow. This is what the show is about. So that we can ask the questions, why this is happening. So, and I keep saying to you, these coaches are getting these badges. They're bringing more knowledge. Have they got the quality to coach what they're dealing with? If that makes any sense to you. And I'll be very honest here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't give me, I'm an A coach. Don't give me a C or D player. It's very difficult. So and then the country's changing also. We got the quality of the 16-year-olds, the 15-year-olds. So then he comes up to in the senior level, what we're trying to do here. What are we trying to achieve? And it's important that this country makes a concept and decision what it is that we're trying to achieve at the club level. Quality. And I think the coaches here in this country are doing it. I think, they're trying. But it still looks at, like what I'm saying to you guys, is that you still see what they set up to be, but then can that person that they're trusting to make that pass, are they is there quality there? And that's what I feel.
I think one of the major problems, Punchy, is as we get into the season, the coaches have to coach on Sundays because the players don't come training on Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever nights. So what you're seeing is the animation of the coach. I'm not saying all clubs, but majority. There's quite a few clubs that struggle to get numbers out in training. So on a Sunday, the coach still in his mind wants to play this system that the players are still, it's French to them. So sometimes the coach has to come down and say, you know what? Let me go back to the basics. Let me have 4 at the back. Let me have 3 in the midfield. And then when we get on top of the game, maybe we can change just a little bit. But I think a lot of times, a lot of players, a lot of teams and coaches still want to play in a system that not everybody's worked enough in to understand. Because you will find a player way out of position, and the coach is saying, well, why are you there? Well, I wasn't training. I didn't know where I was supposed to be.
So that's a good point. And last year, we just build on that point. Last year, Scott Morton. Scott Morton transformed North Village because he brought the discipline to North Village that at that time. He came there and brought that discipline. If you don't train, you don't play. He was brave enough to do that. Mm-hmm. So he didn't have to coach on the day because he was brave enough to do it. And let's compare Scott with a Maceo. And I can use the example. What I was able to do once I learned that from Scott, now I was able to build a puzzle based on that foundation. And the reason I bring that up because once you get to the players, they'll be at training. They'll actually be at training. They will train once you get to them. Once they see that it's heading in a direction where the bus is moving in a good direction, they will come because, kid you not, they like football. The players like football and they're going to test you. They're going to test you where you are. I saw Cantuan Janet try to test Scott Morton, and he stood firm. You know, and then Scott Morton won the league with North Village after 26 years under Punchy. So
Yeah.
that's an important piece. That's an important piece of getting the attention of the players. That's a very important piece. But another piece that I like to add to it, in our current circumstances, when I look at the likes of our coach and Jamal, all these coaches that have knowledge, I actually, if I have my way, I'll make them coach junior teams. I'll make them coach 10-year-olds. Because at the end of the day, what we're talking about at the senior level, we're talking about winning. Let's kid you not. We're not talking about developing any player. We're talking about figuring out how to win the game. And that's why I bring the concept into winning the game is cultural now.
I think, I'm just adding to this, to show what we talk about, discussing. I think we always, you and Maceo and myself, had talked about what the show's about. It just asks me questions. And we might offend people at times. We might be, I think, the show's about, this country is about running and just what we see. And I keep saying, all kudos to the coaches, staff, what the association is trying to do, what the clubs are trying to achieve. But we're still going to keep pressing on. And I'm saying to you, with the coaching staff, when I see the coaches, and I think I've said this before, when you've got these coaches that are doing all these studying, and you give them a product, and you want them to work with a product that's not good, then what kind of result are you trying to achieve with? See, the point that I'm saying to you, that's what we got. I think Macy and I have talked about this, and I'm telling you, Earl, and I talked to my niece about the education at the younger level, the schools. The school system is so important. And I said to you, when I first came back from England, I had said, what we would do, maybe we should have a center for educational footballs, the elite players at 10 years old, on Thursdays off. We do the same thing what they're doing over there in Europe, around the world. And the best players are being educated on a day they come out of school. And this is a concept. Let's try it. Let's see if we give it a go. So that when he's 10 years old, he has the right concept, is running right. He has a whole day of football education. And I think that's where we're falling behind, because be honest with you again, I'm going to repeat myself. The coaches are getting more educated. They're going to seminars that travel around the world. They can see this. Or what's the product that they're dealing with? And so that's my point. I don't want to stray from the subject. The other thing I want to bring to attention, again, I'm sorry, Earl and Maceo, I got to put my hands up. I'm sorry. I want to apologize for what happened last week. I'm not trying to. I'm new to this. Put my hands up. I'm sorry for offending any people. I don't want to offend people. All I am trying to do, Earl, you and Maceo asked me to do the show and continue on, is to educate where we need to go in this country. So again, my apologies to people if they were offended, but I'm glad to be on the show. I'm glad to be on the show and be asking the right questions. And I think we're gonna go. There's a future for this talk show. Anyway, it is. Yeah. Thank you.
Not a problem. I appreciate that. The one eye opener from this weekend would have been the result. PHC edging out Crossroads 3-2. We've seen PHC run through, but Maceo, you made a good point last week when you said what Crossroads needed to work on was stop giving up goals. They managed to score 2 this week. That's the second time they scored 2 goals, because they scored 2 against Southampton Rangers in the first game, but they're still giving up goals, and that seems to be the problem. But PHC 3-2, and they had to come from behind to do that. Your thoughts?
Well, you should be able to win a goal with 2 games. Like, technically speaking, if you score 2 goals, that should pretty much at home guarantee you the ability to win a game at 2-0. But again, you're giving up those goals. I'm looking at that result from a perspective of PHC that they gave up 2 goals. Like, that shows a lack of concentration for me. That they didn't run away, they didn't beat that game as they should have beat that game for us, the quality that they have. So that becomes a concern for their coaching staff. But I think it equals itself out. It equals itself out when Dannytown did the same thing. So it equals itself out because Dannytown 4-2. So that equals themselves out. And I know both coaching staffs are going to be in the back of their mind. I mean, you could play the game that's in front of you, but you want to get a rhythm.
Yeah.
Because you don't turn it on and off when you want. You don't. You don't. We think we do. You don't turn it off on and on. You get a rhythm of it and a pattern. And once you get that pattern, you can steamroll on that pattern. And even though I think the two contenders in Dannytown and PHC, that's still not established a clear pattern and rhythm yet.
My question. If I was any coach, I would find out. Well, I'm gonna talk to the coach of actuals. How do you get 2 goals in PHC? That game is that close. I say I'm gonna start that concept.
You only finish tonight,
I'm gonna call the coaching staff. Yeah. So what did you do? Because that game is close. Now, actually, has been losing. Look in the last couple of weeks. I'm losing 4-0. What did they do to score 2 goals against PHC? So that's a very. I was like so surprised about the result.
Yes.
So maybe like most coaches in the top level, in the professional level, they're like, what did they do to get to do that? So very surprised about the result. I was very surprised. I still think that actuals, I don't know. There's still something about them. They're not the same as they were 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe there was an on-off situation today against PHC. They put the effort in. But maybe the coaching staff has come up with the concept. And so what my concern would be for PHC coaching staff, 2 goals against actuals that have also conceded that many goals, but they could score 2 goals against you. Right. So that's really about wow. That result is like so surprising.
Definitely. And the final Premier Division game, Ray, as you call it, Ray bullied Streaker. Devonshire Colts beating Southampton Rangers 3-1 at Police Field. Mace?
I guarantee you Rays can come into this conversation at that top level. Watch. I guarantee you it's going to, because I'm watching the pattern. I'm watching the pattern start off slow. And I know Ray's personality. He's not going to lay this down, right? He's not going to just say, okay, you beat me. I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to make an excuse for that. He's not going to do that. So I'm watching the pattern, and I'm going to guarantee you, and I don't usually talk good about Colts. I don't really like them, right? Personally, I don't like them, but I see what I see. I see what I see, and Ray is going to come into the conversation, and he said it. I understand what he said. Yeah, I'm not in the elite conversation yet. Guarantee he wants to be in it.
Yes.
Guarantee.
So give me some time, and I'll be in the conversation. Yeah.
And he wants to be in it quicker than work giving him credit to be in it. He wants to be in it now. And I asked direct questions of Ray about his international exposure. So I can see the behavior changes. I know he's going and seen something internationally, and he's coming back to start to implement it locally. I know that. And I see how the players are walking now. I see how Ray is walking. They're walking how I'm used to walk. They're walking how the Liverpool people walk, how the United people used to walk. I see that. I see certain things. He's going to come in the conversation. Watch. He's going to come in the conversation. I guarantee it.
Punch. What's your thoughts on what Streaker needs to do? Because right now, I mean, there's a hole in the bucket.
Streaker needs to get a go.
Earl, seriously speaking, Streaker's up against it. He's up against it. When you lose that many players and all of a sudden you go to Rangers, you take that job. And I don't know, it's like it's gonna take a while. I really feel for Streaker, but I don't think he has the players there. It's simple. And you're not gonna Ray Jones, get him back. Let's leave Streaker and go to Ray Jones about him, what he's trying to achieve. I speak with Ray Jones. I like him. I like his character. He's really most people take him like, he talks a lot, whatever.
Right.
But I'm saying, don't ever take him. See, he does his homework, and so it's probably going to him tonight charting what he's playing next. Who's he playing next? What he's going to do. I don't think he has a whole lot of quality in that team, the Denver Colts, but he's galvanizing. They're not a whole lot of. It's not the old Denver Colts team that you see quality, quick pass and short pass and good midfield players, but he's still doing something right. And so that's what he does. So I wish him. I think Denver Colts can be okay this year.
Yeah.
Denver Colts, and remember, there's 3 teams going down. So we're going to talk. I think we're going to look at who's the teams that are going down. 3, but I don't think it's going to be Denver Colts. I think Ray will know what teams he's going to be. If he goes up to play against Somerset Eagles or Somerset or on a Sunday afternoon, Somerset Eagles, who goes up Denver Cougars, he's going to set his team up correctly for that. That's what I do think that he understands.
Well, it's interesting. If I could just jump back in there a sec, it's very interesting. And remember, I used to have a conversation about Devonshire Colts wanting to outplay teams, and that's where they had a young team, and they do have players that are of a certain quality, but not of a certain experience yet, or not of the respect of others yet. So his approach to becoming tactical now as to how he sets up, before he can outplay somebody, and the more he gets the result, the more he can get the buy-in. And
That's right.
Start to sneak in the other pieces, and trust me, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it before. I had to see it with Sean Gooden. Once you got the players to trust them, then you sneak in the other little pieces to get to the quality and the quality of play. Some of our coaches start off to say, "Well, I'm going to play quality. I'm going to outplay you. I'm going to show work like Brazil. Hey, let's get that at that level. Let's start getting this result, and then let me start building on that." So I see that happening with Devonshire Colts. And Ray said it's not putting his personality on it. It's not going to bully people. Not going to watch. It's normal that a coach's personality comes out of his team.
Comes out, yeah. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk the first division scores and then jump to those picks for this week going and next week. We'll be right back.
The use of butter goes back millennia, and its exalted status in the cooking world and in so many kitchens is undeniable. Around 3,000 years ago, ghee, or clarified butter, was developed in India and is the cooking oil of choice in many regions of the subcontinent, and compared to butter has a higher smoke point, reduced dairy solids, and a more robust, nuanced flavor. And to Organic Valley, creators of a certified organic version of this versatile traditional staple. This month we're featuring Organic Valley Ghee Clarified Butter. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Welcome back. Well, we saw the Boulevard Blazers defeat, who was it, Paget, 4-0 out at BAA Field. We talked last week about what Paget and similar Island Rangers would do if they were confronted with a big score. not as big as St. David's score, but we have to see how Paget bounce back from this defeat. And of course, Boulevard, they're moving from strength to strength, albeit they're playing a lot of games at home. How do they play away from home? Mace?
Yeah. Funny story. The Paget president said, "Come on, man, give me a break. We're going to win a game this year. We're building. Jamie, a good friend of mine, said, "Come on, man. I'm trying to, he's out BA. And Boulevard, they was always going to meant to beat Paget. Can Boulevard sustain themselves, right? Can they sustain themselves with the quality of individual player they have and the organization piece, right? They're going to be the upsetter. Boulevard's going to be the upsetter, and I feel for Paget, right? We're able to try to build and stuff, but my football brain and heart just tells me they're not going to get a result, and they're not scoring goals. I saw a bit of who they have on the field. I mean, Paget had a player on the field that was retired for 3 years, right? If you retire for 3 years, you come back and play, So I feel for him, and again, Dunn's took on that role, and I actually think Dunn has a very he reminds me of he becomes structured. Now I'll give you an example because we talked about it earlier. Dunn has this under 7 Dandytown team, right? And the players are phenomenal. You see what he's got them doing. So you see what he's got those under 7s doing at Dandytown because he's got really good young players at his disposal. Mm-hmm. So he can impact those young players. But I can't see him impacting that. I can't see him impacting the Paget players. I can't see it. I just can't see it impacting and changing any habits in the Paget players at that level. Yeah. So good luck to him if he gets a result. It's if he gets a result, he should be voted coach of the year for if he gets a result for Paget.
He
should vote.
Let's be realistic here. Remember, the show is designed so we can just ask the questions. Paget's been out of the league for how long?
2 years.
2 years, okay. So okay, 2 years. So the person comes back, he's got an organization, he wants to achieve something. It's not going to happen overnight. It's definitely not going to happen overnight. I was really impressed by what he had to say a couple of weeks ago when he had him on the show. But it don't happen like that overnight. Paget had a structured program years ago. Players who come in there, as we know, they will get real good, then they leave and go to PhD in Southampton. So what they doing, and with where the country's is now, young players are leaving the country more to go to England, where the families going overseas. So yeah, it's gonna take a Paget. Like Paget is another. Let me see. Paget. Let's go with Island Rangers. We can start naming the clubs. And remember, it's not personal. It's only about looking at the statistics and what we're talking about here. They've been on the league for 3 years, 2 years, and you got a person that wants to structure the club. But structure the club with what? Players? Older players? Who's going to play for Paget? Who's going to do this? So it's just the fact that where they are is where our country is in terms of those type of clubs. Structural and staying structured for long periods of time, like Norfolk has done. Kudos to them in terms of why they stay up there. And so it's gonna be a real. But I applaud him for his courage. I applaud him for his courage. Yes, I do. I applaud him for his courage. But at the senior level, it's a whole different story. Yeah, it's a whole different story. So again, it's what we're talking about: structure, long-term structured football. And then you got to think about, if you have a structured football, the quality of players with a structured program. And I think that's what we're talking about here with Paget.
Yeah. The sharper in the first division, well, considering what we thought would be the result, was the 1-1 between Vasco and BAA. I without seeing the game, I think the youngsters now at BAA probably went up there thinking, we'll steamroll these guys, we'll just play around them. And of course, Vasco have some experienced players and some physical players too that could, once you start to not have things going your way, as a young team, it could knock you offside. Punch?
I think again, we're getting back to Adams, the coaching staff. What Adams is, we had him on the show. You know what kind of personality he has. His structure. He doesn't have a whole lot of quality there, but he's structured. And so that is a surprising result. But again, he's steady. He knows what he wants to do. It's pretty smart, and it's pretty. I applaud him for that result. Vasco again. Remember the Giants going back 10, 15 years ago, but they had quality of players. They took some of Northwoods players. I don't like that still, but anyway, I ain't gonna talk about that. But he's trying to, just like a lot of those teams in that division, like Social Club, Vasco, Wolves, structure programs. I still think Wolves are going to have that problem. I still think Wolves are going to fall short on that. Good players, very, but structured programs. And I still think that, I think Miss Adams is on the right track.
Nice.
Well, that was one of the games that were on that the BFA put out there on YouTube today, that BA game. After watching the game, you can understand the result now. Two structured coaches met each other. So that cancels each other out because the structures there. Now it comes down to quality, quality of player. From the BA side of it, why they have a quality of player, because they've been developed under Andrew in their youth development. They do have a quality of player. They lacked experience. And where the game equaled itself out, the Vasco players had more experience. They have more experience and more maturity, because BA's got an average age. I mean, the kid that scored today for BA, Cole Summoners, is 16 years old. He's just been 16. He, just got a bike. He's brave and everything else. And I've got a lot of players like that. They're being fast forwarded into this level of men's football. And they're surrounded by the oldest player they're surrounded by is a 23-year-old. A 23-year-old. So whereas Vasco came with some experience and organization, so it started canceling out. So it makes sense that a BA beat Boulevard, because Boulevard didn't have the structure and didn't have the organization, and Andrew would exploit that. Couldn't exploit that, and I learned a little bit about that a long time ago. I like to share stories because it's all we learn. My first time coaching against Andrew, I was terrified because it was Andrew. I had no affiliates. I was terrified, but I recognized my skill. I recognized something, that my team, the team was set out structurally, and set out structurally against at this time Andrew was at Cougars, matched them structurally, and then I had a better player. I had a better player that allowed North Village to win the game. So Andrew's in a very fine balancing act with these young players that have a bit of quality, but they're young and inexperienced. So everything has to marry up. Quality, structure, experienced player, ambitious player, everything has to marry up. Right.
Sure. And the final first division game, Young Men's Social Club defeated St. David 7-0. I don't know where to go in that, but 7. I think
we already talked about that. Yeah. And that's another thing about just being really honest about that score. I was at St. David's and Maceo knew that. What they have achieved since then, I left and I had to go, and Andrew came in. But where they are today, what that result is like, and we're Social Club is, even though they beat St. David's, we're Social Club headed to. I always thought that, even I thought that the person in charge, or who's really coaching St. David's?
Aaron Lugo.
Okay, wow. There we go. And that result, what does he have at his disposal? And so all we're doing is all we're saying to those results that we're talking about, because they are predictable, you know.
Mm.
They really are. You have a good. I keep saying to you, I'm gonna keep going back to this, sir. These coaches, they got the badges and stuff like that. What do they have to work with?
Mm.
And so Aaron Lugo could probably what is doing St. Davis. I mean, diehard St. Davis people does stick with it. You know that, Mr. Basin, yeah, St. George. I had a plan when I went down St. Davis. Yeah, I'm going on my first game against St. George. I told them I want a bus. I'm taking all my players on a bus, and we beat St. George's over St. George's. Anyway, the point that I'm saying is that what you have to work with is going to be it's hard for these coaches now with all the qualifications. What do they have to work with? And I think it still comes back to what we'll keep discussing about the education of the younger generation who's coaching. What are we doing? So that when you put and I'm only saying this here, when you send someone to the senior level, you know what the coach needs, and it's gonna be perfect. So anyway, I think St. David's, well, they're in a little bit of trouble here. They are. A good community, very, but if someone goes on to take over, what do they have to work with? That's my problem with that, which I had to understand. What comes next for St. Davis, like with Pecha?
Amazing.
We talk about cultural football. Punchy, a big figure, Garrett Deal, a big figure in football, went to St. David's. Andrew, a big figure in football as a player and a coach, went to St. David's. Sergio Goda, a big figure as a coach, went to St. David's, and the results are still the same, isn't it? Yeah, the results are still the same. It's even when you put these figures into and the results are still the same from a perspective of you put Aaron Lugo in there. Maybe not a big name in football, but he's responsible. He's trying to build. He's passionate. He's all those things. The results still be the same because it's cultural. And how do you break cultural? How do you break culture? So Davis will be different if it was cricket, right? If it was different in cricket, it will be very different, isn't it? Very, very.
Well, their culture thing in football is beats and Georges.
Yeah, be very, very.
And Punchy, you can attest to that.
You can attest to that. Yeah, I can attest to that. But again,
beats and Georges.
It
reminds me of years ago when Somerset Eagles came up. Their ambition was just beat Somerset Trojans. That's it. Beat Somerset Trojans. That's
what I felt when I saw St. Davis. The most important thing, but I can understand that there. It's like Aston Villa going to Birmingham and similar things. Yeah, we want to beat them. If you don't win no other game, we want to beat Birmingham.
Yeah.
So I got that. But it's still progress for a country. I think let's say let's say we take Aaron Lugo out of St. Davis and he goes coaches Wolves. What do you think the result would be? Let's say he takes over. What? I'm sorry, say again, Mason.
I think if Aaron Lugo coaches Wolves, you'll see a battle of Wolves.
There you go. Yeah. So what we're talking about here is about. That's what I was talking about. Somebody like Aaron Lugo, Donna St. David's, like I did. I experienced. Andrew experienced it. What do you want to do? So I figured, wow, here we go. We're asking the questions. What if you took this person, this coach, out of this situation, put him in another situation? What would results for Wolves? And I think Aaron Lugo would be good for Wolves. Yeah. So and I think it would. And that's about our country growing. Just like this show, growing. Ask the questions. Let's see. Because people would listen to this show and say, oh, yeah. But at least we're asking the questions. Because I've been in experience, and I said to you guys, what I thought I knew about football, I knew very little of. So I just figured all we do is ask the questions, trying to get this information out, and it just rename the information. Aaron Lugo will be a good fit for Wolves.
Because again,
yes, he will.
Lugo is going to meet talent, which Wolves has.
Oh yeah,
going to creativity, and they're going to learn from each other. They're going to learn from each other as we're watching it out anytime. We're watching it happen out anytime. Yeah.
My thing with that, Maceo. I'm sorry, cutting on Maceo.
Well,
If somebody came in
I'm
the room,
back.
like I said,
I
raw
have a bit
talent.
of an internet issue here in Colombia, but
No, no, yeah,
hopefully these
okay.
guys will join back on relatively soon. We don't have much more time for this particular show. I do have to depart very shortly as
Yeah.
Maisha Sharif has advanced to the B final of the women's backstroke, 100-meter backstroke.
Yes.
She swam earlier today, finishing 7th in her heat, 16th overall, which advanced her to the B final, which she'll be swimming approximately 7 p.m. Colombia time, which is 8 p.m. Bermuda time. So let's see if these guys jump back on. If they don't, then we'll have our picks, and then
Sharif.
I just think.
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, man. Yeah.
Greetings from the UK from an ex-St. George's player. I still look forward to their results. Yeah, they got a win yesterday, 2-1 over Robin Hood. So, folks, with that, we're going to say good night from the Island Stat Sports Show. We'll be back next week, Sunday, to bring you another edition of the Island Stat Sports Show with our picks that we will take or undertake off air. So with that, I bid you good night.